Good morning, class. So in this segment of videos, we're going to look at how to make some healthier snack foods to replace some of the junk foods in our diet. So not to say that you're not going to enjoy some of your favorite snack foods, but they shouldn't be the bulk of the calories that you eat. You still need to get nutrition in, vegetables, fruits, whole grains, into your diet, and reduce the amount of refined sugars. So right now I'm going to make some granola. I have a baking sheet and it's covered with some parchment paper, and it's very easy to make granola, and it stores really well. Can be used as a snack food, just eaten as is, or as a cereal over milk, with yogurt, in a parfait with some fresh fruit. So to make granola, I need oats. So it's important that when making granola that you get the right kind of oats. These are old-fashioned. I'm just going to measure out 2 cups. Fourth cup of oil. This is peanut oil, which gives a little peanut flavor to it. You can use any oil, any vegetable oil for granola. So I'm going to measure out 1/4 cup of oil and pour it into my bowl with the oatmeal. Then I'm going to use honey. And this is the same measuring cup, the 1/4 cup that I used for the oil. And if I pour the honey in, because it had the oil in the same cup, then it won't stick. Measure out my honey. Show you here, if I pour this in, it'll come out clean because it had the oil coating already on it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flavor my granola with just a little bit of vanilla extract. I'm just going to pour just a little bit, a little splash into the bowl. And that sound was the oven. I have it set at 350 degrees. That's the temperature I am going to bake my granola. Then I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon. Sprinkle some in, about 1/2 teaspoon. I'm going to add some seeds and dry fruit to my measuring cup. I need about 3/4 a cup, so I'm just gonna fill it with my mixture of seeds and nuts, just a little bit under the line, so I can use the same cup I use for the oatmeal, less dishes. So I am going to use some, these are pecans. I use the raw pecans, so raw nuts, into my measuring cup. I'm going to add some, in my granola, I'm going to add some pumpkin seeds. So I'm just going to add a little handful pumpkin seeds. And I'm going to add some raw sunflower seeds. So these are all unsalted, unprocessed. So I'm just going to take a little handful here, pour that in. So I have it a little over half full with nuts, and I'm going to add some dried cranberry to it. So I have it about 3/4 of the way full. We're going to add that right in here. So I'm going to add 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Add that right in here, and all I have to do is mix it and lay it out on the baking sheet and bake it. So I get my spoon, mix it all up. Onto my baking sheet with the parchment paper, and I'm going to spread it out so it's it's all together. And it's touching, but it's a single layer. Granola, you can buy granola bars, but most of the granola that you buy in that's already made is just loaded with a lot of sugar and really isn't that healthy. So we're gonna put this in the oven for about 24 minutes. So while the granola is cooking, I'm gonna show you how to make guacamole. So guacamole from fresh avocados is also a healthy snack. So this is a pretty large avocado. I'm looking to see that it's soft, but it doesn't cave in. If it caves in, it's probably going to be brown. So I just want a little softness to it when I press my finger into it. So I'm going to take, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on a cutting board and I'm going to cut it around here. So it's two halves and I'm going to pull them apart. So I'm going to have to kind of stop the knife when I get to the seed and move it around. When I get to the top, I put my hands on both sides and just kind of cut it and slowly go around, making sure that my finger is out of the way and that I have control of it. So once I've gone all the way around, I can pull it apart. To get my seed out, I'm just going to take the spoon, just kind of lift up my seed. You can just take your spoon and scrape it out. And cut around. Pull it apart, scrape out the green. Careful if there is still a stem attached that it does not end up in your guacamole. These little hard stems, you really want to bite into them there. Now I'm going to add some diced green onion. You could use other types of onion. And then I have my jalapenos. I took the jalapenos and I seeded them, and I'm just going to take these strips and cut them really small in nice little pieces. So this was an awfully big avocado, this was an awfully big This is a very big jalapeno, so I'm going to leave some of it out. And I'm just going to chop it up a little bit more after I slice it. And I'm going to add jalapeno in there. And then I have a little handful of cilantro, and I'm going to chop that up and add it in. So just no stems, I just have the leaves from the cilantro, and I'm just chopped them up a little bit. Now I'm going to take and mash everything. I have tomato to add, but I want to mash the tomato. I'm going to take and squeeze in a lime. So for the lime, I just take and cut it in half and just kind of squeeze it in. It doesn't have seeds, the lime, so squeeze it right in here. So I got my, I'm going to take a minute to throw out my avocado. Okay, so we're almost done, and our guacamole, we're almost done, and I see that the timers, I hear that the timer has gone off for the granola. So I'm going to take our granola out of the oven. Okay. So I've taken the granola out of the oven, and it's not quite crunchy yet because it has to cool. So I don't want to start trying to break it apart. It's going to be soft right now. So I'm going to let this sit. Over to the side while we finish the guacamole. That's going to sit for about an hour. I turn the timer off. So I'm just going to cut it into slices. I'm going to take each slice, cut it into strips, turn it, and cut it into small pieces. So first the strips, turn it, cut it again, small little pieces. I diced tomatoes. Now I took the spoon that I used to scoop out the avocado. I take this and I just need to mix it in a little bit. And then I'm going to add half a teaspoon of salt. When I add the salt, I just kind of sprinkle around so it doesn't all end up at one space. That mixed, and then just kind of fold it in. So now I'm going to switch to a bowl scraper, a little rubber spatula. I can scrape out the rest. And then what I want to do is I want to make it real flat. So I have it real flat in my container, and then I'm just going to get some water, and I'm going to pour a little layer of water on top. So in case you're going to not eat your guacamole right away and you want to store it top, that will keep the air from getting to the avocado. Put my lid on it and put it in the refrigerator, and when I'm ready to use it, I just pour the water off, mix it, put it in a bowl. It's ready to go. Okay, now I'm going to show you a fun way to eat vegetables. So I'm going to make vegetables into a pizza. So that way I'm getting a whole serving of some cut up vegetables. The little flatbread pizzas work really good because they're nice and crispy for the home oven, and they're not that soggy pizza dough that you try to cook because your oven is not an official pizza oven. So I really like the texture. These are whole wheat, but they have ones that aren't whole wheat if you prefer. Just put some sauce on. So it's not a ton of sauce because you don't want a soggy pizza. And then you just kind of smooth it out with the back of your spoon. And to add flavor, I'm going to add a little seasoning. This is the Italian seasoning. It's all together, and you grind it into a shaker, but you can skip this or add whatever seasonings you would like. Use a mixture of Italian cheese for convenient. So I'm just going to sprinkle my cheese on. I want it to taste a little bit like a pizza. So I'm going to use a little bit. This is turkey pepperoni, which tastes very much like our regular pepperoni without all the grease. So I was surprised that it doesn't taste bad at all. So I'm going to put some on my pizza. So I've arranged my slices. I've used zucchini on just regular pizza, and actually comes out pretty good. I was surprised. It's a good, not a bad pizza vegetable at all. So then I'm going to add a little bit of red bell pepper. Some green onions, some olives, and a little bit of broccoli. Just cut it really small. So then I'm going to add some cheese to the top. I'm going to put some more cheese right on top. And I'm going to add just a little bit of black pepper. And a little bit of salt, just a little bit. I have all the vegetables and I want them to have flavor. Drizzle it on top with a little bit of olive oil, just a little bit, and then I added some salt and pepper, olive oil to flavor the vegetables, and then I'm going to put this in the oven. Set my timer for 10 minutes. So ranch dressing is a very unhealthy food. I'm going to take and show you what the flavoring is that makes up ranch. That gives it that taste without using a packet of ranch mix. So there's several flavors that make up the ranch. Garlic powder, granulated onion. So onion and garlic are strong flavors to make up that ranch flavor. And then usually some dried herbs. I'm going to just use our Italian seasoning. Since I have that on hand, you can use dried parsley. It also has chives. I'm going to use fresh chives only because the store was out of the freeze-dried, but the freeze-dried would be perfect. You can sprinkle them in. And then salt and pepper. So because we're not trying to disguise a bunch of chemicals, we don't need near as much salt. So it's a healthier amount of salt and still gives us the same amount of flavor. I'm just going to take... I'm going to use yogurt instead of mayonnaise. This is whole milk yogurt. And I'm just going to pour some into a bowl, like so. And then I want my ranch to be a little bit thick, so I'm gonna add some sour cream to it. This is not necessary, but it will thicken it up. If you like your ranch to be thicker, you can use, add in a little cornstarch to thicken it. So I'm gonna add a little bit of that in. Now, fairly thick dressing, almost like a dip. And then I'm gonna mix in some buttermilk. If you didn't have buttermilk, you could also use regular milk, but buttermilk will give it more of a ranch flavor. There you go. So, as you can see on the pizza, so our vegetables were able to cook down. I used the flatbread so I could have a little bit of a crispy crust as the liquid drains out. So you see more of the cheese and less of the vegetables. So a nice, tasty way to eat your vegetables, and we're going to use a ranch dip. So let's finish up the ranch dip while our pizza is cooling. So I'm going to add a little bit of each of my seasonings. We'll grate in a little bit of my fresh herbs. I'm going to take a few of these chives. And you could use green onions as well in a pinch. Probably work just about as well. You're going to make little pieces with your scissors. So you can see I'm just making little pieces in there. Some salt and pepper. About a half a teaspoon of salt. Sprinkle in a little bit of brown pepper. So I have my seasoning and I just mix them up. Once I mix up my ranch, I'm just going to pour it in to a container. And this will store in your refrigerator for up to 2 weeks. So then I just slice my pizzas, put a little ranch here, lunch. So while we made the pizza, it turns out that my granola is done, and you can see it's nice and crispy and lift it up. So I just take the pizzas and I just kind of break it up into my little chunks. So I put some in a bowl and the rest fit into a freezer bag. So I'm gonna leave this to store. If I don't use it soon, then I can put it into the freezer.